one, I'm thinking probably I could see it 35-21.
Okay.
In favor of the Seahawks.
35-21. I actually had it scored a little bit higher, like 35-31, but I still believe that, like you say, it's a high-scoring game. You talked about Dissly, so let's talk about a little bit more about Will, okay? Now, where does that bode well for the rest of 2019?
I think in terms of the rest of 2019, he is going to be at least a low-end tight end one. Again, he is used a lot in the blocking scheme because he was drafted as a blocking tight end out of the University of Washington. He kind of surprised the coaches a little bit after they had drafted him with his receiving ability. Chris Peterson at the University of Washington told Pete Carroll and John Schneider that he's an underrated receiver, and it is definitely shown over the last season, the first few games last year, and then what he's done already this season. He is very good at securing the ball. He can get yards after the catch when necessary. He can break tackles as well. And so I think that the fact that he is such a great blocker with a team that's trying to establish the run, and while they have not been so successful at it yet this year, they're going to continue to try to establish the run, which is going to keep him on the field. And when Russell Wilson needs to check out of, on a short yardage play, needs to check out of a run play into a passing play, Will Dissly very well could be the guy who's the beneficiary of those types of changes.
Okay, so Ryan, tell the fans out there how to deal with injuries in your fantasy lineups.
Okay, so on my podcast for Sculpting Football, I went over the list of injuries last night, and the injuries can just be a pain to deal with, especially midweek injuries. So if it's a guy that's maybe got injured in a game, and throughout the week he's kind of rested, didn't practice the first couple practices, but if you can tell it's more of a maintenance thing because of being injured in the game, that's one thing. But when you have someone like Terry McLaurin, who is the first wide receiver in NFL history to go at least 5 catches and a touchdown in each of his first 3 games, all of a sudden today shows up on the injury report with a hamstring injury after practicing earlier in the week. That's not good. People are expecting to have him in their lineups, especially with a game against the New York Giants, who are terrible on defense. The Giants and the Redskins are the 2 teams who have given up the most points to wide receivers in fantasy right now. And so you want a guy like that to be available for that kind of a matchup. So what you do with a guy like McLaurin, he's going to be playing early in the early set of games on Sunday. So what you can do is you can have him, instead of, say he's your number 3 wide receiver and you start 3 wide receivers and have a flex position, what you do is you put him in your flex spot and you have someone else that you can possibly throw into your wide receiver position. So in injuries, and you're not sure what position or what direction you need to go with, whether you're going to have to sit them or whether they're going to be available to play, have guys, no matter how good they are, even if it's like a Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins type, if there's an injury designation, put them into your flex spot so that you can already have someone to fill in at the wide receiver. So you've already got that filled. And that way, if it does end up that player can't play, you have more options. You can use a second tight end in that flex, or you can use a running back or a wide receiver. It gives you a lot more flexibility, hence the name flex position. It gives you a lot more flexibility and ability to pivot if you need to when there's injuries.
Very interesting. Okay. Couple other points, and I'm going to throw a couple other curveballs at you, all right? Ready? Let's talk about Daniel Jones. You say he'll be a fantasy contributor again?
This week, definitely. Again, I have him as a low-end quarterback 1 in my rankings. So, and that's based on 12-team leagues. So I think he'll be in that quarterback 10 to 12 range, 12 to 13 range or 10 to 13 range. He showed this last week against a pretty good defense who had shut down a couple of decent offenses in Tampa Bay. He was able to throw for 336 yards, had a couple of touchdown passes, ran for 2 touchdowns himself, and really that's what really, for me, elevates fantasy production. The reason that I have Josh Allen, usually ranked pretty high every week, and Lamar Jackson, why he's been such a fantasy stud, is because it's not just their ability to throw the ball. If you look at the way fantasy scoring, usually every 100 yards in passing for quarterbacks is, I want to say it's 4 points per 100 yards. But if they're running for 100 yards, that's 10 points. So
Right.
because of the difference in how scoring is done, when quarterbacks can run the ball, it makes them that much more valuable. And so because, again, Daniel Jones is going up against one of the defenses that's almost as bad as his own defense, especially against the pass, I believe that's going to set him up to be able to pass the ball a lot to Sterling Shepard. He's got Evan Ingram, one of the top tight ends in the league. And again, his ability to run the ball, again, sets him apart from a lot of other players in that same, a lot of other quarterbacks in that same tier.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, let's talk about Melvin Gordon's impact on the Chargers fantasy player.
All right, so Melvin Gordon has officially ended his holdout. He showed up today at practice. He even brought his pads. You can see. I think TMZ actually has the video that Keenan Allen recorded on his phone of Melvin Gordon walking into the locker room with his pads today. So with Melvin Gordon coming back, obviously the person that this is going to affect the most is Austin Ekeler. Ekeler has had an absolutely phenomenal start to the season. He's, I want to say, the number 3 or 4 running back, depending on your scoring settings for your league. His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. This year he's been much better at running the ball, especially up the middle. They've been able to block better for him. He's never really been known because of his size. He's a smaller guy. He's never really been known as much of an inside runner. But now with Melvin Gordon coming back, that's going to take away a lot of his touches. Coach Lynn has already said that Melvin Gordon is their starter. He's their starting running back. Now, he's not going to play this week since he just showed up. Just showed up today. They're going to want to make sure that he's in game shape. So he won't play this week. He may get some playing time in week 5. I'm guessing by no later than week 7, he will be the main guy. And Austin Ekeler at that point moves to more of a flex play, which he was all of last year. Even with Melvin Gordon playing, Austin Ekeler was, I want to say, about running back number 30, which puts it about a third, a running back 3 or a flex player, especially in deeper leagues, possibly a running back 2 some weeks, depending on the matchup. So that affects him. The other person that this affects, which it's a little indirectly, is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, if you look at the differences in the splits between when Melvin Gordon is playing and when he's not playing, and look at Keenan Allen's stats, he actually gets a bump when in his production when Melvin Gordon does not play. Philip Rivers trusts Keenan Allen, especially on short routes. Keenan Allen is very much a slot route kind of guy. He's not super fast, but he's a great possession receiver who can break away and get away from defenders to score touchdowns when he needs to. But he's not a guy that's going to have 6 catches for 200 yards. He's going to have like 14 catches for 150 yards. And so he gets a lot of those short routes. Well, with Melvin Gordon coming back, Gordon's going to be getting a lot of those dump-offs and those screen passes, and that's going to take away a little bit of production from Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen I want to say right now, he's the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, or at least close to it. I think this drops, he'll still be close to a wide receiver 1, but I think by the end of the season, he'll be closer to that kind of receiver, probably 8 to 13 range, I think, is where he'll finally settle by the end of the year.
All right, let me give you, we have about 5.5 minutes to go, so let me give you my takes on what you just talked about. Number one, my gut feeling says that Melvin Gordon will play against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. How much? I don't know. For some reason or another, that's what my gut feeling is, that he'll play on Sunday. Okay? Just one opinion, and it'll give us something to talk about come Tuesday. Number two, okay, the guy that also affects, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, is Phillip Rivers. It gives them another playmaker, obviously, in offense. And, you know, Melvin Gordon is such an interchangeable part with not only the passing game, but the running attack, that you're also, a guy like him, when you're talking about time of possession or like the Chargers could have, geez, that to me is pretty impressive. So I don't know. I don't know why I think he's going to play against the Dolphins, but they're playing such an opponent where they're not very good. That doesn't mean he's going to play a lot, but if you're talking about breaking the guy in gradually, I think the Miami Dolphins are an opponent that might be a probability. So that's just my opinion. We'll pick that part up next Tuesday. So now I'm going to mention a couple of players while we have another 3 minutes or so to go. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going up to Denver to play the Broncos. What are your thoughts about what DJ Chark could bring to the table this weekend?
This weekend's going to be a little bit tough. Obviously, he has been the one who has benefited the most from the broken collarbone of Nick Foles.
Right.
He, in the preseason especially, he obviously had the greatest rapport with Gardner Minshew. He was close to like wide receiver 3 or 4 on the depth chart when camp broke and they were getting into the season. But because Gardner Minshew's now there, because they were able to have such a great rapport in preseason, it's staying that way now that we're getting into the season. And DJ Chark is going to be the most targeted in that Jags offense as long as Gardner Minshew is the quarterback.
Well, let's not. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I say Chark, I think, can put up solid numbers this week. I think it's going to be okay, but I'm not expecting the type of numbers that he's put up so far. I'm expecting more of like a 4 to 5 catches for maybe 60 yards. I don't think he gets in the end zone this week.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Chark's first touchdown pass came from the hands of Nick Foles. So, I mean, I don't know. The more Nick Foles sees what this kid can do in the offense, I would definitely think that, he might consider targeting him a lot more. That's one of those situations that I think is a variable. And as the season plays out, with Nick Foles holding a clipboard with one arm, watching what's going on around him, and watching a lot of game film and all that, there are some definitely interesting intangibles of how I believe that situation will play out. We got another minute or so to go. Any thoughts about Jalen Ramsey not being there this weekend? Who knows what's going to happen with this guy, but, we'll close it out on that.
Well, I know that Jalen Ramsey, for one, on one hand is dealing with the birth of his daughter, which, I commend guys for stepping away, and I commend teams for allowing their players to do that. That being said, we've got a guy that's arguing with his coach, that seemingly doesn't even want to be there in Jacksonville anymore. He obviously wants to be traded, so I think that he may get moved. They're trying to work towards reconciliation. I think he ends up getting moved this year.
Okay, well, he's forcing his hand out of there, so. All right, well, with that said, Ryan, we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to be on quite a few shows together, so we have the Sports Exchange, and of course, just so everybody understands that our weekly fantasy show with Ryan Schoolroot will appear on Wednesday night. So, Ryan, go ahead and give everybody a preview of what we have. We got another 25 seconds to go.
As far as the fantasy stuff that we're going to be doing on Wednesday nights, again, it's more going to be continuing with looking at anything from DFS to the injuries, a little bit of like what we've been talking about today, specific games, and how to deal with lineups. So we're trying to really dig into the fantasy strategy and